YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm giving you guys the best graphic settings for Fortune's Keep on season 4. You guys want to run these to get the most FPS. If you guys are looking for quality over performance, this is not the video for you. This is to maximize FPS, to really play the game at its smoothest capacity and to get you guys that edge with more frames. Let's hop right into the settings. All right, so first and foremost, we're gonna start on the first tab. If you guys don't already, you're gonna want to make sure this is set to full screen, not full screen borderless, not extended window, not windowed, full screen. It is gonna get you the most FPS. It is gonna run your game the absolute smoothest. Other than that, you just want to make sure that your screen refresh rate, depending on if you're on what kind of monitor you have, make sure you are running at the highest refresh rate your monitor supports. So my monitor taps out at 144 hertz. You guys want to make sure that this is set. If you have a 240 hertz monitor, that it's set to 240. If you just have a 60 hertz, that it's set to 60, etc. You guys want to make sure it is set to the highest. That is going to give you the best performance and have your game looking its absolute best when you drop into Fortune's Keep, guys. So we're going to continue on. Everything else I pretty much leave as default. This is all going to depend upon your monitor again as well, what resolution you guys play at. My monitor is just a 1080p monitor, so I have mine set to 1920 by 1080. Of course, it's just going to depend on what you guys have it for your monitor and what resolution it runs at. Mine personally is just a 1080p monitor, so I leave mine set to 1080p. However, if you have a 1080p monitor and you're struggling to keep like 60 frames, or you're just struggling with, you know, the game performing smoothly, you can click on advanced here, and then you can either lower this or you can lower the render resolution. It's going to make your game quality look a little worse, but your game is going to run smoother. So that's always an option you guys can do as well to get more FPS. However, you will suffer that loss in the visual quality of the game. Other than that, everything else I still leave at default. The only thing I change, and this is for all my people that are using an Nvidia graphics card, is I do run Nvidia Reflex low latency enabled plus boost. So pretty much what enabled plus boost does is when your CPU is in a heavy CPU bound series of events, the GPU clock speeds will remain high to take load off of the CPU, which in turn will make your game run better by the CPU and GPU working hand in hand. However, this will result in more power draw from your GPU. So if you have a power supply that's kind of on the weaker end, you could run into crashing or instability issues. But if you have one that can handle it, I highly recommend running this for the best performance. It is by far one of the most important things out of this whole setup. We're going to jump over to quality now. Quality I run, so field of view has nothing to do with this. This is just a preference, but I run 120 FOV, and if you run a max FOV, always make sure to set it to effective, guys. It's going to help you. Just trust me. Next, going into the details and textures. Streaming quality, I run mine at low. Once again, because we're focusing on performance, right? So if you run it on normal, it will favor the texture quality over performance, which you'll sacrifice frames. However, the game will look visually better. I don't care about the visuals of the game. I just want my game to perform at its best at all times. That's why we run low. Texture resolution, you could set this to very low. However, I will say if you're looking at enemies from range, you are going to struggle being able to see them on very low. I've noticed that. That's why I run low personally. You guys can mess with that. Very low or low. I recommend low. However, both will do great for performance and are plenty for what you need. Texture filter, I don't even know how to say it, but I run this on high simply because it doesn't affect VRAM usage at all. You can run it at disabled, high, it doesn't affect it. That's why we run it at high. Same with particle quality, it doesn't affect your VRAM usage. We run it at high, and for that reason. Same with the bullet impacts and sprays, we have those enabled. Tessellation also doesn't affect your VRAM usage, so we have it at all. Dismemberment and gore effects I run enabled just because I think it makes the game a little more immersive. You know, it's a little more gory, a little more intense, but I think I just run it for preference. You can disable that though if you wish. On-demand texture streaming, I do run high quality just because it does download them to your hard disk and it caches them for future rendering, which is going to improve frames. People do not understand that because they see high quality and they think it's going to focus more on the textures and making sure they're high quality, which is not true. It will, however, download the high quality textures to your hard drive, so then it's just reading your game's just reading it from the disk. It's not constantly streaming them. However, once it caches those, it's already just pulling it from your hard drive. It's not re-rendering those textures, which in turn is going to get you more frames. That's why I run it at high quality. Next, Filmic Strength, I run at 1. Film Grain at 0. DLSS, I do not run. And the reason being is DLSS usually performs a lot better at maximum graphics settings. I see a lot of people will run DLSS at low graphics settings, and I don't think there's really much improvement. If anything, I think it could hurt your frames, but that's just from my personal experience. You guys could try, I'd say if you're gonna run it, try it on probably balanced. However, me personally, I've had better luck with my frame rates with DLSS being disabled just because I play on low quality settings. However, if you're someone that you want the game to be pretty, you want it to be aesthetically pleasing, you don't really care about your frames per second, run DLSS, but make sure you are also running everything else at max for DLSS to do what it's supposed to do. Anti-aliasing, I do not run. Depth of field, disabled. Motion blur and weapon motion blur, world motion blur, you don't want to run those. It's just going to hinder. I mean, look at the image. You can see the gun on the right side. It's blurry. It doesn't look great. To me, it kind of affects me if I'm getting in like quick engagements. So that's why personally I disable it. Shadow map resolution, I just run it low. You can up it. You will suffer some VRAM usage and in turn get a little bit lower frame rates. However, this is one I'd say it is adjustable. If you want to make changes, you definitely can. It's just entirely up to you. The cache spot shadows I do have enabled just because, once again, with the texture streaming that I discussed before, when you cache these, it's gonna already be stored for when it renders the future frames, which in turn is gonna help your computer, PC, and your game achieve more frames per second, which is what we're after, especially in Fortune's Keep Season 4. Other than that, all these other settings are pretty self-explanatory. Sun shadows, same deal as the spot shadows. It's just going to help with those future renderings of those frames, which is going to help with the FPS. Particle lighting I have at ultra just because it doesn't affect VRAM usage. Ray tracing I have disabled. Once again, we're not trying to go out for a fashion show on Call of Duty. We're just going for maximum performance. Ray tracing will make the game look pretty. However, you are going to sacrifice a lot of performance by enabling it. Ambient occlusion I have disabled, and SSR I also have disabled just because I don't have anti-aliasing enabled. Because if you enable those without having anti-aliasing, you're going to have visual noise. The game is going to look really just gross. That's why we have them disabled. Other than that, these are the best settings that I've found by experimenting in my first few games of Fortune's Keep. These are the ones you guys are going to want to run for Season 4. If you guys got any improvement from these settings, make sure to drop a like down below and comment and subscribe to the channel with post notifications on so you guys never miss an upload. I appreciate you guys tuning in to another video. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll catch you guys in the very next one. Peace.